Hello, everyone. Happy May 15th. Here we are at May 15th. And it's nice and warm and sunny here where I live, which is nice because it's often snowing. You're listening to Talking to Tanis, Evolve on Purpose on Transformation Talk Radio. And the intentions for my show have always been to highlight the systems, the processes, the people that I found really helped me in my own self-awareness journey. In the last show, I had an amazing friend and conversation with Rhonda Reichert. And she was at one point my personal assistant and a great friend and a colleague and a client and all the beautiful things that you create with people you align with. But she was very instrumental in navigating the process of writing my book and publishing it and marketing it. And how we marketed it, we came up with the idea to do a book oracle. And so what that means is we just pick a page and then we do a reading from that page. And that's what we did last Friday. So if you missed it, you can check out the archives or go to my YouTube or my website and see it there. Super fun. We had a great time. And a recent addition to my self-awareness journey, which recent meaning maybe 3 or 4 years, have been in a contemplation of my gene keys, which were created by an incredible teacher named Richard Rudd. And in his words, the gene keys are, and I'll read this, a grand synthesis of practical wisdom to help guide you to a deeper understanding of yourself and your true potential. Seriously, that's like got Tanis written all over it. So it really brought me in. And I had a kind of a magical gene keys initiation story. I had done my human design for several years, and I came across a video that was about the gene keys and human design. And I really loved Richard's words and his spirit and his information in that. And so I said to my son, oh, I just watched this video about gene keys. And he goes, hey, somebody gave me that book the other day and I didn't know what to do with it. So he goes, here you go. And so within moments, I actually had the Gene Keys book in my possession. And I just ran with it from there. I downloaded my hologenetic profile and I jumped right in. And now I have participated in many, if not all of the offerings provided by the Gene Keys programs. But one of the most powerful for me was called the Delta. And that's where my guest today comes into my story. And she was the coordinator, is the coordinator of the Delta program. And I kind of through being the liaison between my group and the coordinator, I kind of got to fall in love with her and in her spirit. And so I'm so honored to have with me the coordinator of the Delta for the Gene Keys program, Pia Mark. Welcome, Pia.
Thank you. It's a delight to meet you in person.
Mm-hmm.
We have had some writings and communications on email, but it's lovely to be with you and to talk to you and have this opportunity.
Well, thank you so much for saying yes when I asked. So just to sort of give people a tiny bit of, I know it's difficult to say, let's just, get a small explanation of the Gene Keys, but often I find that people's sort of personal story of how they found the Gene Keys does an incredible job of explaining why it brought you in. So would you love to share your story of the Gene Keys?
Yes, I'll do my best to not make it a 2-hour story of my life.
Right.
So I see myself as in many ways a spiritual adventurer, or altogether an adventurer. I was, even as a child, I was very adventurous. And it's also, I can see that in my Gene Keys profile, in the hologenetic profile. So I love traveling. When I was younger, I traveled mostly in the outer world, and in recent years, more in the inner worlds. And along my travels, I studied and searched for spiritual meaning and truth. And I've come across many different systems and philosophies and religions. And 10 years ago, actually 11 years by now, I came across the Gene Keys, and I listened in the spring of 2009. I listened to an interview or a speak with Richard Rudd, and he talked about humanity's sacred wound. And I still remember it was something that resonated deep throughout my being. It was not so much what he said, but the quality of the transmission that came through his voice. So I'd sort of, a few years before, I'd come across human design, but it didn't capture me particularly. A little bit, I was curious. I am curious always. And that summer, he announced the first deep dive that to start in the autumn, and it was also the summer or the year of where the first edition of the Gene Keys book, as you can see, Tanis just showed it's a big one. So I listened to everything that Richard put out. It was not quite so much in those days. I ordered the book, and I remember receiving my own personal edition. It was a very beautiful edition, self-published and signed this day. Nice. And I looked up, I knew my profile, or I knew the prime gifts. I didn't know the whole profile didn't exist in those days, but I knew the first 4 Gene Keys in the profile. And I looked up what's called my life's work. And I still remember reading this Gene Key in the book. And first I burst out laughing. Then I nearly started crying. And then I was just astonished. And this was just by reading first the 1 Gene Key and then the other 3. I was like, how could somebody know me so well? So it affirmed my feeling that this was really, I'd found, and it's the synthesis of bringing together, for me, that's at least what I feel, many streams. There are many ways, many philosophies saying the same thing, but the Gene Keys transmission, the Gene Keys wisdom really brings together, for me, the essence of everything there is to life and makes it accessible. I'm not going to say that the 700 plus pages of the book is an easy read, and yet it speaks to the heart, and of course it speaks to the mind, it speaks to our soul. Anyway, I knew I'd found, in a way, what happened was I knew I found home. I knew I found what I've been looking for all my life. And it's almost like I knew this was there. I just didn't know when or how I would find it. So it was really a feeling of homecoming for me. And I joined the deep dive, which was a virtual retreat. And it's just been repeated with a few more people this time. But I think in the first one that started, I think it was the end of November that year, we were about 100. And it was beautiful. It was transformational. I still remember what the most important thing that happens to me, apart from meeting lots of like-minded people, it was my first virtual experience. Was that I could feel my, at that point, very dormant creativity. I'd been working hard. I was a single mom, and even though I lived in a spiritual community, I may come to that in a moment, there was so much focus on day to day, and my creativity had really gone to sleep. That winter, it blossomed. Something reawakened in me. And I really felt alive and in my right element. So I did the first deep dive, and then there was a second one where I was hosting, and I've been with the Gene Keys ever since.
What a beautiful story. I mean, that is such an incredible explanation, to feel like you come home. And, you know, when I talk about that self-awareness journey, I too have been on, you know, now 20 some years, consciously, obviously always unconsciously, but is that feeling of resonation. It's like a gong. I always feel it almost like a gong, or like all the bubbles coming up out of pop or soda, whatever you call it, you know, there's this sort of effervescence that kind of moves through the body when you touch touch a system, a person, an opportunity, a book, or whatever that just ignites that feeling in you. And that's such a beautiful explanation, and very accurate. And so right before we go to break, if you want to check out your hologenetic profile, you can go to the Gene Keys free profile, thegenekeys.com free profile. You put in your birth information and you'll get a profile, which if you've never seen it before, will look foreign to you, but it's okay. It's a process, and there's lots of information for you to discover and uncover it for yourself. So while we go to break, that would be a really cool thing to do, is go and get your profile. And when we come back, we're going to talk a little tiny bit more about the Gene Keys, but then we're going to get into the Delta, which is upcoming. This will be launched very, very soon. So can't wait for you to hear about that. So while we go to break, just pop on over and grab your profile. We'll be right back. Hello, everyone. We're back to Talking to Tanis with me, Tanis McRae. And my guest today is Pia Mark and she's the coordinator for the Gene Keys program, the Delta. And before we went to break, we were discussing the Gene Keys. And another thing that sort of drew me into the Gene Keys when I first sort of found this, was entering into my experience, is I saw that there was an opportunity to do something called Dare to be Divine. And that I felt that through every part of my body. I was like, that's the energy that I like to go toward, that highest vibration, rather than sort of working on the low one. I want to like just use that to help move that vibration in me, within me, to awaken me. And it turned out that it was delayed in launching. So I was able to take and participate in the Golden Path self-study. So I did my activation sequence, my Venus sequence, and my Pearl sequence. And then Dare to be Divine came out, and I was able to participate in that. And it was, again, incredible. I don't think there's one thing I haven't taken from the Gene Keys or Richard Rudd that's not been life-changing. And I'm absolutely certain you agree, Pia. It's a life-changing process, correct?
Absolutely.
Yes. And so we're going to just talk a little bit about the Delta and what Pia knows about that. Well, she knows a lot about it. Let's not be, but maybe the origins of it, not so much. But really want to get into that part, because I took, I think it's a year ago now. It was not this last February, but the February before, that I started my journey in the Delta. And I wish I could put it into words, how impactful that was in bringing me home to me. And really, I've always worked in the energy. I'm an energy worker. That's how I do what I do. And this just matched my process so perfectly, which is trusting the collective energy of a group of people coming together with an intention and on purpose. And so I'm going to move it over to Pia, who I know will do a much better job of explaining the Delta. I just feel the Delta in me, but I can explain it as well. So Pia, would you like to, I'll give it over to you and you can talk about whatever you want.
Thank you. Yes, I don't know that I'll do a better job. We'll see if that's true or not. So from what I know of what Richard Rudd has said is that he actually the Delta was conceived, or he received it conceived during an early weekend workshop with Dare to be Divine. So, synchronicities and surprises. And basically he received this from this game, from what he perceives is the angelic realms. And it feels like it's another realm. It has that divine angelic quality to it. And it's, for me, the way I experienced, it's deeply infused with magic.
Yes.
Magic is really the essence of the Delta. And he did actually at that time, I think it was around 2007, I could be wrong, but it was some time around there. And they tested it with 7 teams, and somehow everybody had magical and marvelous experiences, but somehow the timing wasn't right. And I think that's key in the gene keys and in any other wisdom. But that's we've seen the timing. It's come. There's been the early teachings, and then there's been a wave, and then I experienced that there's been another wave of teachings coming out, and it feels like now, that's certainly my feeling, we are ready for something like the Delta, for something like the gene keys. I was introduced to the Delta by Richard in 2016 after the Star Pearl retreat at Findhorn. So that's the side story that I lived and worked at the Findhorn Foundation for nearly 30 years. And one of the dreams I achieved was to organize the Star Pearl with Richard Brothers retreat there in May that year. And towards the end of that retreat, Richard introduced the Delta, and it just captured my heart and my imagination. And I think it's one of those things. I was already in love with the gene keys, but the Delta touched something else in me, a sweet, soft, tender resonance in my heart. And that autumn, we were 3 teams around the world. I mean, a team in Romania, a team in Bulgaria, and a team, my work team in Findhorn. We tested the Delta at that time again, so it was been a while since it'd been tested. And I did 3 rounds with my team at Findhorn, and I can truly say that was life-changing. And that was after already quite a few years of contemplating and diving deeply into the gene keys. So what happened was that towards the end of those 3 weeks, or 21 weeks, 3 rounds, so it's 3 rounds of 7 weeks, one morning I woke up and I knew my time at Findhorn was up. And that was a bit of I don't know. This was my home. I worked there. I had my family. Not all my family, but I had all my friends, all my network, and nearly 30 years of my life. So that was my home. And it was time to leave and go back to my home country of Denmark. Mm-hmm. And because of listening and being still held in the Delta is a collective experience, and I'll just describe it in a bit more detail in a moment. But there was something in being held in that incredible frequency of the Delta that made me trust this, and that made me find the courage to do this. Both, so I would say the faith and the courage. And this was the end of January. 4 months later, I was back in Denmark with literally, I mean, leaving everything behind. And because of Brexit being in the making at that time, I really burned my bridges and left. And I wouldn't say it's been an easy landing or an easy journey. And yet my faith all along and every single day has continued to deepen and grow. And I'm here, I'm back in my hometown, which I never ever expected would happen. And the other thing that's, I'd say, it's been guided the whole way. And in 2018, in the spring, we started a working group to start developing the Delta and Grounded. We had gathered the experiences from the 3 teams. We've done another, actually in a year before, I did another Delta with a different team. And then we started test teams in the autumn of 2008, like more test team, more doing it online. And everybody had really beautiful, transformative experiences. I won't say it was easy. It's not easy. I've also experienced challenges along the way, because one of the things that happens is that some of my deepest shadows, deepest also blocks on what I don't want to see or have been highlighted in the Delta.
Yes, of course.
It does shine a light on everything. So to this day, I've done 6 rounds, each of them being different, each unique, and each time deepening. And just as a testimonial to the Delta, I'm ready to do another one.
I agree.
Because even after each round, something changes and something shifts inside me. So it's a game.
Mm-hmm.
I better say a little bit about the Delta now, I think, about my experience.
Yes.
It's a game that's played. You have 7 participants, so you create a team or a group of 7, and the 7 players play together for 7 weeks with a week of integration. So in reality, it's 8 weeks. So you will be meeting for 8 times over those 7 weeks.
Mm-hmm.
It also consists of 7 positions. So there's 7 gene keys and 7 positions of this Delta team. It's a dance that you will be dancing. It's a very unique choreography that you move through, a careful pattern through these 7 weeks. And each position has a relationship or a correlation with each of the 7 subtle bodies of the 7 subtle planes, and musical tones, each of the chakras. Mm-hmm. So there's different correlations, and each week, each person will be contemplating deeply the relevant gene key. Mm-hmm. It's also, each position is also related to a life theme. So there will be a theme. It can be like the physical, could be grounding, mm-hmm. or the emotional. So there'll be a focus, and it's real in life. So if I'm in position 1, which is related to the physical, mm-hmm. body and the very practical, I'll be focusing on the physical reality of my life and ideally make some changes relevant. The second position will be is related to the emotional and to relationships. Mm-hmm. So I will then be focusing, and it may on relationships, on my feelings that week. And the beauty of it is that it's a game, and it's a very powerful, profound game. The beauty is also that it's tangible and real in my life. Part of this contemplation of this journey is that I pay attention to each theme and each realm, I would say, that and how it plays out in my everyday life. Mm-hmm. There'll then be meetings with the team. So the team will meet once a week all together. And for 6 of the 7 weeks, you'll have a partner. So everybody gets to be partnered up with everybody. So it really is a beautiful dance. And through this process, the team creates or grows an auric field, a collective field that each person tunes into. It's also amazing how each, like the pairs, they are kind of balancing each other. So if an disturbance or imbalance, if I experience that, say I'm in the second position, I experience something in my relationships, it will be balanced in another, in my partner's life, in another, in the other, another place in the Delta. And in a way, those 2 imbalances create harmony and equalization.
Right.
So just as an example, now I talked about the second position, which is related to the 22nd gene key and the Siddhi. Siddhi is the highest frequency of the gene key, the Siddhi of grace, and is partnered with the seventh position, which is the 57th gene key of clarity. And that is about attuning to spirit. So whilst I'm working on my relationships and bringing grace into my relationships, my partner will be attuning to spirit and the clarity of spirit. And those two positions will bring balance and harmonize each other. And in that way, each of the three pairs, the 6 positions and the 3 pairs will be balancing and grounding an area of the collective aura. So you have the 7 collective subtle bodies as well as the individuals. The person in position 1 has not got a partner, but will be releasing collective karma, personal karma, with the support of everybody else. So everybody else tunes into and supports on the subtle levels the person in position 1. I hope that made sense.
It does. And I know it sounds complicated, but really it's not complicated. It's like any game. You know, when you get the instructions, you're like, oh my goodness, how am I ever going to figure this out? But really it's smooth, and there's lots of resources for everyone. My Delta story was that in the 7th week of my 3rd round. So I went 3 rounds of the Delta. In the 7th week of my 3rd round, I was invited to do this radio show. And this was something I had dreamed of doing my whole life, of doing something to help talk, because I love to talk and all that kind of fun stuff. And that highlighted my journey, that highlighted how I help people and what I use to help myself. And that 7th week of the last flight, Transformation Talk Radio invited me to participate and have my own show. And I know that was absolutely the magic of the Delta. It was so perfectly timed that there was no doubt in my mind. You know, I'd been approached before, but it never seemed like the right timing and or the right commitment. And so this one just was so beautiful, and Transformation Talk Radio matches the energy of that so beautifully. And so, and also made lifelong friends with the people, because 5 of us out of the 7 went through all 3 rounds together. And so that creates this incredible, I guess I'm going to use the word intimacy, but it's really just that they're in the same path, and you can resonate with one another, and they, you know, they mean the world to me. And you know, again, it's just people you would not meet generally anywhere else. And so the dance is an exceptional way to say that. It really is. And yeah, my suggestion is absolutely. And I know that, like you said, sometimes it's a challenge, but the challenge is where we find all the yummy, juicy stuff. You know, like I say, it's really easy to find peace, you know, in your meditation on your yoga mat with the sun shining on you. That's easy. It's finding it when you're not there, when you're, you know, when life is happening. And that's something I say in my workshops. I always say, I won't teach you this workshop, your life will, but I will guide you through that, because it's something I have always done. I've looked to my experiences in my life to show me where I am in my own process. And it never fails, always shows me where I am, through a challenge or through a gift or through magic. Absolutely. And of course, I'm a huge Harry Potter fan. So magic is always real for me as well. So we do have something for people who are interested in the Delta. Do you want to talk about the registration and the yummy gift you're giving people?
Yeah, I'd like to just say something else before I do that.
Yeah, of course.
I think, like, one of the things that I've found is, I mean, first of all, as the coordinator, I've heard so many stories like Tanis's. Like, it's for me, it's that the part of the job as the coordinator of the Delta that I love the most. I'm so touched, so deeply touched by all the stories and the amazing magic that happens, that more often than not, we put 7 complete strangers together into a team. And by the end of 7, 14 or 21 weeks, depending on how long they go as a complete team, something's happened. Even there can be projections, there can be difficulties, there can be interpersonal difficulties, and they resolve, and each and every person grows in self-awareness and in love, I would say, during those 7 weeks, so or more. So that is the part that I continue to just be so deeply touched and honored by. And you know your own story, Tanis, I know my own, and I've had the incredible honor to hear many of them and beautiful. See it. And there have been teams where people have been about to drop out, and some things happened. The holding and the love and the energy of the Delta really works magic to hold people. Of course, it's not for everybody. Nothing.
No, nothing is.
No. But I wanted to say that. And the other thing I want to mention is that if you're interested, you're warmly invited, and we will open, registrations will open next week. It's important, though, to be willing to make a commitment, and to, I'd also say, as with anything in life, the more each of us give of ourselves, the more powerful the experience will be. I would not encourage to join the Delta half-heartedly.
Absolutely not.
Because it'll be a missed opportunity.
Yes.
There's so much potential. If you really engage and really let yourself be vulnerable, be open, take some risks.
Yeah, vulnerability is safe. That's my thing. Vulnerability is safe, and commitment wise, there's the commitment of the part, you can into your life. It's an opportunity. It's an opportunity for you to, as Richard says, to pause. And why not take that opportunity? But I couldn't agree more. Only do it if it's really calling to you, because then you will experience that magic. You know, it's like anything. You get in, you get out what you've put in, and it's an alignment in that way. We're absolutely certain.
Yes, absolutely. And it is a commitment, and yet because there will be weekly meetings of about 90 minutes, and it's also for 6 of the 7 weeks, it's also important to meet and share with the partner, because the sharing really helps to bring awareness to what's been happening, both individually and not least collectively. It also helps to ground the experience for everybody. So it's important to be able and willing to commit to that. It's also, of course, there is some inner work, because there's with the Delta program, you receive the audio, the relevant audio for each position, for each gene key. I would say, ideally, you really need to have the Gene Keys book. It's possible to do it without, but you'll get much more out of it, I think, with having the book. And I know that Richard is just creating videos for each of the positions as well. So there's a wealth of materials and resources to support you. And the other thing is, I know, Tanis, you said, it sounds complicated maybe, but you will be guided all the way, and there's resources, there's basically, you'll be taken by the hand and guided through the program.
Absolutely.
And there's always a support team. The Delta support team is there to also answer questions if you have any. But really, return to the materials, the resources, it's all described in there.
Yeah.
So
it's very, very well presented. And this is a former teacher talking. So I know when something is going to serve you well and support you well. And it is. And there it absolutely was. It absolutely is well supported. And like Pia said, there's so much information available to you. You can go as far into it as you want, or dance lightly, whatever, you do you, as I always say, you do you. But you will absolutely, through your commitment to that personal self, not just to the program, but this is because that's really the secondary thing. This is a commitment you're making to the self. It's not the commitment you're making to the Delta. That's how I look at it. It's the Delta is the vehicle through which I'm going to commit to my own self-awareness and my own growth and my own expansion, because I'm the only person living my life. I'm the only person having my experience. I'm the experiencer of my experiences. And so it's a gift to me. I choose to do self-awareness work. And I love when I get to do it with other people who are of the same like mind, who are committed to that beautiful process of finding where they are, where their shadows are. Can I be vulnerable? Can I let go of judgment and just let the person be upset? And there was so many lovely lessons of acceptance and joy and challenge. Of course, that's life. We experience challenge all the time. And so you said it opens up in registration opens up May 30th?
20th.
Oh, May 20th. Sorry. So that's even closer, 5 days from now. So we're going to go to break here right away. And so again, if you haven't had a chance to look at the Gene Keys, that's something you can do while we're on our break here. And again, if you want to download your Gene Keys profile, there's lots and lots of information there. And there you can go right to the genekeys.com /Delta, and that will give you some information as well. So thank you for joining us so far. We're going to be right back after this and talk a little bit more about how to register and what just sort of the practical sort of position one part of the Delta. And so we'll be right back. Hello, everyone. Welcome back to Talking to Tanis, Evolving on Purpose with me, Tanis, and my wonderful guest, Pia Mark, the coordinator of the Delta program through the Gene Keys. Before we went to break, we were talking about how this incredible program is coming up again so that you can register for it. Keeping that in mind, I want you to know that the Gene Keys website is also going through its own transformation. So if you get into to the website and it's a few glitches or whatever, just know that it's also reaching up. It's to its higher, expanded, growing, evolving form. And like everything, the best things are worth waiting for. So if you do have trouble getting into the information or whatever in the next couple of days, just know it's not quite time yet, and that you can come back in a day or so and find everything you need there for absolutely certain. Again, the registration for the Delta begins on May the 20th, which is next week, and it runs until June the 3rd, I believe. Mm-hmm. And Pia, you know what is so great is the gift of giving and generosity, the Gene Key of generosity. And so she has something that you can, a free gift for you if you would like to access some of it's a resource that I know we used. It was a beautiful resource we used in the Delta when I took it as well. So I'm going to move this over to Pia, and she will tell you all about what she's got for you.
So we have, as part of the Delta, so I mentioned there's an audio, there's a video, there's the book. There's also something called a mudra that is part of, you will get 8 mudras actually, but 7 for the 7 positions, the 7 weeks of the journey. And it's really, a mudra is it's a hand position that helps you bypass the mind and embody higher frequencies, to tune into and bring into your body, into your energy field, the higher frequencies. So each mudra, Gene Keys mudra, is embodying, it's a hand position for one of the cities, one of the 64 cities. And the Gene Keys publishing team has very generously offered listeners to this program the whole Gene Keys mudra package for free. So it'll be free as of today, the 15th, until for a month, until the 15th even of June. And you go to the Gene Keys website, to genekeys.com/product/Siddha-Palm-Mudras. And you get a free coupon, and we'll post Tanis will post.
I have posted it, yes.
Gene Keys Mudras free 0520. So Gene Keys Mudras, and that's all, each word starting with a capital, free, all capital, 0520.
Yes, I have those.
I can strongly recommend that, because they add a dimension, and it really helps with physical grounding, physical embodiment. Mm-hmm. And they are intricate and beautiful.
They are. I still do them when I'm working with things. I have that all linked on my website, which is Tanis McRae, and last name spelled MCRAE, and tanismcrae.com under Talk Radio with Tanis, and you'll see Pia's information there. And right below that, there is a link to that shop, to the shop, and the code. It's also on the Transformation Talk Radio, my page on, if you go to live shows and you find me as a host there and click on it, there's also a link there, and the coupon information is there as well. And that's just for people who are listening to Talking to Tanis, which I think is a really beautiful gift. So if you're hearing this and you would like to be the recipient of such a generous gift, that's where you can go. Definitely to the website and to the host page of Transformation Talk Radio. The information will be there. If you're still, I will also post it on my Facebook pages, and so you will be able to access it. That's wonderful. Yeah, I think we're one of the other things wanted to talk about was a little bit about when it starts. What's some of the expectations of when this begins?
Yes. So registration will open as Tanis said, from the 20th of May till the 3rd of June. And our intention is that we will start flights. And it really is important to see this as you embark upon a flight for 7 weeks. And it's really hard to get off the flight in mid-flight. So it's important to know that you are in there, and you don't know, there may be a bit of turbulence, there may be beautiful skies, sunrises, sunsets along the way, but you will embark on this flight. So we're starting 3 different time zones or time slots on the 10th of June, and 3 different times on the 14th of June. So Wednesday the 10th and Sunday the 14th. That's what the plan is. Mm-hmm. And people would then meet at the same time for 8 meetings, actually, the 7 weeks. And then there will also be an integration week. There will be no meetings during that week, but it's time to really let this land. So there is actually an 8th position, which is like the octave, and that's the city. It's the 20th Gene Key and the city of presence, which also holds and embraces the whole journey, the whole flight.
Absolutely.
And there will be, if you go to the genekeys.com/delta, there will be links, and it'll be announced in newsletters. You can also sign up for the Gene Keys newsletter on the genekeys.com page. So keep an eye out. If this has stirred your curiosity, and you will know It's like
Yes.
everything, there's a calling. It may be a tiny little something feeling in your stomach or your heart, or it may be a big, oh yes, I want this. Whatever it is, listen. And if
Mhm.
you're ready, you're warmly welcome.
And there's also an opportunity if you do have a group of people you want to register. You could register as a group, correct?
Yes. So there's you can register on your own, and you will be randomly assigned a team, which is beautiful. Also, the positions, like you will have a starting position each. So each of the 7 positions are randomly assigned each person, and that in itself has magic in it, as I'm sure Tanis and I and many others can say, because the starting position is like an underlying life theme, an underlying gene key that is more individual, more personal.
Mhm.
That may be something that needs a bit more attention in your life, a bit more support. So
You
that's
say, you say random, but it really isn't.
it isn't
It's really
random.
quite aligned.
It is randomly, and I'm still doing running the random generator, which is one of my favorite jobs.
Yes.
It's also possible to find 6 others, friends, team, co-workers, and sign up together. The important thing is, if you do sign up as a team, please remember to have everybody mention the other 6.
Uh-huh.
So during
Right.
each registration, and that's all be very clearly laid out during the registration, but it's important for us to know
Yes.
when we put together the teams.
Wow. Well, you know what, Pia, I can't thank you enough for saying yes and coming to talk about the Delta on my show. The Gene Keys are I'm living the Gene Keys each and every day. I just completed the deep dive program. Absolutely intend on taking the deep dive into love in the fall. I just can't express enough. If you want to do a self awareness journey, the Gene Keys are an incredible way to do that. It's easily understood, and it holds you in. It's not a rigid structure. It's fluid, and it moves, and it arises in you. That's my favorite thing about the Gene Keys. For me, they arise, they bubble up in me, and they show up, and then I just respond to them, and I love the synchronicities of that. Thank you so much again, Pia, for sharing your genius, and to honor you being the connection of the Delta for me and for my others in my group. That was an incredible experience to be connected to you there. And I want to thank everyone for tuning into this version or this episode of Talking to Tanis Evolve on Purpose. We had a great time, and it was wonderful to hear all about the Gene Keys. Remember, I'm here every first and third Fridays at 10 a.m. Pacific, 11 a.m. Mountain, 12 p.m. Central, and 1 p.m. Eastern Time. My next show is June 3rd, on Friday, June 3rd, and I have no idea what I'm going to be talking about yet. I'm sure it will arise as beautifully as everything else does. And I have some advice then. I have this advice at the end of every one of my shows. I really believe that this is, if you just take this one sentence home with you, it's all you need. Remember, if you don't decide who you are in the experience will decide who you are. And so it's a really great way to begin this relationship with yourself and your gene keys, and discover your genius and decide who you want to be through that and how it illuminates you, and through the Delta and the gene keys and all of that beautiful stuff. So Pia, thank you again so much for coming. And I couldn't be happier to welcome you to my space, and look forward to connecting with you again in the energy and in person.
Thank you. It's been my pleasure.
Thank you. All right. So genekeys.com, all the information there. Thank you everyone for tuning in. I will see you soon. Take care of you.